Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected Chief Digital Officer, Professor Datuk Dr. Norbit Bashar Idris and IIUM Top Management, respected panelists, Surveyor Dr. Khairil Hizar, Mat Khuzaimah and Madam Azlinayati Manaf, respected Chief Librarian of DaHL Library, Madam Yusrina Abu Bakar and the Library Management, respected knowledge champions from KCDIOM, colleagues from IIUM and other higher learning institutions, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning to all. Let's begin our forum with the recitation of Kitab Al-Fatihah. We are thrilled to have you to join us for this forum on knowledge management with the theme Leveraging KM Best Practices to Enhance Organizational Performance. I'm Tuan Safa'at Tuan Ameri, a librarian at DaHL Library, IIUM, and I will be moderating today's session. On behalf of DaHL Library, I would like to extend a warm welcome and express our gratitude to our panelists and all participants for being part of this important forum on knowledge management. Knowledge management, or KM, has become essential for organizations striving for efficiency, innovation, and competitive advantage. Today, we will explore how best practices in KM can drive substantial improvements in organizational performance. The attendance link will be provided in the chat box 15 minutes after the forum starts. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to kick off the forum, I would like to invite Mr. Juhari Daud, the head of the Research and Academic Support Department, to share his welcoming remarks. Please welcome Mr. Juhari.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning, everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Thank you to our wonderful moderator for the introduction. I'm Tuan Safa. I am here today in Barakah Friday morning representing our Chief Librarian to share a few welcoming words, inshallah. First and foremost, I want to give a big thank to Madam Maznah Zakaria, our organizing committee leader, and her fantastic team. A special shout out goes to the Darul Hikmah Library for the effort in making this forum possible today, alhamdulillah. Today, we are excited to explore the topic of knowledge management with our panelists, Surveyor Dr. Khairil Hizar, Muhammad Khuzaimah, and Madam Azlinayati Manaf. Terima kasih kerana sudi menerima pinangan kami. Dr. Khairil and Madam Azlinayati, inshallah, will share valuable insight on how we can use KM best practice to boost our organizational performance, which is it's such an important topic, especially since things are changing so fast in our digital world. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, KM basically it's all about collecting, organizing, and using information in a way that helps our organization to do better. When we use the best practices in knowledge management, we can get more done and come up with new ideas. And one great example also is having a good knowledge sharing platform. This is a place where everyone can easily share ideas and resources, which helps teams work better together and come up with a cool solution. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we need to believe as the message by our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is the basis of all knowledge is khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas, and the best of people are those who are most beneficial to people, and which relate as well with one of the three actions that we will continue to carry until after we die, which Rasulullah SAW said, إِذَا مَاتَ الْإِنسَانِ إِنْقَطَعَ عَنْهُ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ إِلَّا مِنْ صَدَقَةٍ جَارِيَةٍ أَوْ عِلْمٍ يُنْتَفَعُ بِهِ أَوْ وَلَدٍ صَالِحٍ يَدْعُو لَهُ, which is the action of man stops when he dies except three things: One of them is knowledge that we or he or she shares to teach people. And Alhamdulillah, today we lucky and would like to welcome once again Surveyor Dr. Khairil Hizar and Madam Azlinayati Manaf to share their tips and experience on this topic. I'm sure we'll learn a lot from them about how to make knowledge management work for us. So let's dive in, make the most of this opportunity together. Let's keep the atmosphere relaxed and open. Since today is Friday, santai-santai tapi bermanfaat insyaAllah. I encourage everyone to participate, ask questions, and share your ideas. Thank you all for being here. Let's enjoy the forum. Back to Madam Safa. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much, Mr. Juhari, for the welcoming remarks. Now, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have two distinguished panelists with us today, representing the Jabatan Kerja Raya (JKR) and the Securities Commission (SC) Malaysia. Both panelists will bring a wealth of experience in knowledge management and its impact on organizational success, inshallah. Before we begin, allow me to introduce our panelists. The first panelist, Surveyor Dr. Khairil Khuzaimah, Superintendent Quantity Surveyor, Knowledge Management Unit from Jabatan Kerja Raya, JKR, Malaysia. He is currently serving as a Chief Quantity Surveyor at the Cawangan Perancangan Aset Bersepadu, Ibu Pejabat JKR, Malaysia. With over 2 decades of experience, he has made significant contributions to the public sector, particularly in asset planning and management. Dr. Khairil holds a PhD in specialism of the built environment from University Technology Mara UITM and a Master in Technical Communications from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute RPI USA. He also earned a Bachelor of Science Honours in Quantity Surveying from the University of Salford, UK. His academic credentials are complemented by various professional certifications, including Certified Knowledge Manager and Certified Intellectual Property Executive. He is a registered member of esteemed organizations such as the Board of Quantity Surveyors Malaysia and the Royal Institutions of Surveyor Malaysia and the Malaysian Assets and Project Management Associations. Dr. Khairil is recognized for his dedication to advancing the profession. He has received multiple accolades, including the Kemajuan Kerjaya Laluan Secara Pantas Fast Track in 2012, the Anugerah Perkhidmatan Cemerlang from the Ministry of Works Malaysia in 2004, 2005, and 2016, the Anugerah Toko Cawangan Kontrak and Ukur Bahan from JKR in 2011, and the Anugerah Pencapaian Istimewa from JKR Malaysia 2016. How are you, Dr. Khairil?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. Thank you.
All right, Alhamdulillah. Next, we move to the second panelist. The second panelist, Madam Azlinayati Manaf, Assistant General Manager, Knowledge Management Department from Securities Commission SC Malaysia. She is the first Malaysian to earn CLIPS KM chartership in April 2021. With extensive experience in knowledge management, data science, and change management, she leads 2 KM units at the SC. Madam Azlina is active in KM societies and communities locally and internationally, and was the Vice President of ISCO Singapore chapter. She was also one of the mentors for the SIKM leaders and KM for Deaf Communities mentoring program for KM professionals. Her previous roles include knowledge management at Her previous role include knowledge manager at INCF and team lead for knowledge engineering at Mimos Berhad, where she worked on data analytics and knowledge-based applications. She began her career as a computer science tutor at Multimedia University and holds a master in computer science from the University of Manchester, a master's in IT, and a bachelor's in electronic engineering from Multimedia University. How are you feeling today, madam?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Ladies and gentlemen, today's forum will consist of 3 rounds, each featuring a unique questions for our panelists. Each panelist will have 15 minutes to respond to their questions. After all rounds are complete, we will open the floor for a Q&A sessions where you can either unmute to ask your questions or type them in the chat box. We will conclude our session with a group photo, so please keep your cameras on for that. Let's dive into our first round. Madam Azlina, you ready?
Inshallah.
So your question will be, can you briefly explain the concept of KM and in what specific ways can KM practices enhance various aspects of organizational performance? Could you provide examples of successful KM implementation in your organization? The floor is yours, Madam Azlina.
Thank you so much, Madam Safa. So before I dive into answering or responding to the question, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Darul Hikmah Library for inviting me. So I'm honored to be part of this knowledgeable forum and also exciting to share my shallow knowledge with the audience today. So to be honest, the question itself is considered as a big question. We can talk about this the whole program for today. But with the 15 minutes time that was given to me, I'll try to summarize and share some insights into how this actually can help in organizational performance. So let's dive into the first part, which is refreshing our understanding about KM concept. So knowledge management, or in short, it's about capturing or creating, organizing, sharing, and applying knowledge or reusing the knowledge to what? To enhance our organizational performance. So in short, or in other words, it's about turning our knowledge assets. So some people call it knowledge assets, some people call it intellectual capital within the organization, be it whether in explicit form, which is document, data, or in tacit form, which in terms of knowledge, expertise, or even experience, into valuable resources that can drive innovation, efficiency, and competitive advantage. So in other words, KM actually can ensure that the right knowledge actually reaches the right people at the right time. And by empowering this knowledge, we are able to do better decisions as well as solve problems effectively. So there are 3 KM enablers, key enablers that actually important to ensure that we can implement and sustain a successful KM practices. So those are people, process, and technology. Okay, so let's go into the first one, which is people. So we talk about people. People is actually the pivotal of knowledge management. So while technology and processes can facilitate KM, but people are the one who actually creates or capture the knowledge, share the knowledge, as well as apply or reuse the knowledge. So KM is most successful in organizations where the employees are encouraged to share their expertise as well as collaborate openly. So with the knowledge sharing culture, which is very, very critical in this environment, leadership also plays a key role in fostering this environment. Because we know that leaders have to or need to emphasize the value of knowledge sharing throughout the organization. So it could be by incentivizing the participation, we provide training, or even we can recognize the contributions. So the second one is process. So for effective KM, it requires a well-defined processes to capture, organize, and disseminate knowledge. So it is as easy as documenting best practices, which I believe that everybody has that in mind, but sometimes we didn't capture and document it properly. Creating repositories, knowledge repositories. When I was in INSEF, we have this INSEF knowledge repository that actually collate all intellectual contributions by the lecturers as well as the students. And the third one is setting up regular knowledge sharing sessions, or sometimes you can call a debrief after projects. So without this structured process, the valuable information or knowledge, whether can be lost, or sometimes it can be duplicated or underutilized. And the last enabler that is very, very important is technology. So when we talk about technology, everybody knows it is actually the backbone that enables the storage as well as sharing of the knowledge across the organization. So we can have KM tools as simple as document management system or content management system or repositories like SharePoint. And it can go up to the most sophisticated like AI-enabled tool for search and optimization, analytics, and so on. However, the key success in technology is about choosing the right technology that integrates seamlessly with the existing workflow, as well as, the most importantly, it must be easy to use. Because if the technology is too complex or disconnected from your daily tasks, employees won't be able to actually engage with it. So in summary, about the KM concept, we can say that it's more than just system or tool. It is actually a strategic approach to leverage the organizational knowledge to improve performance. And it requires people who actually create and share the knowledge, process that capture and organize knowledge, and technology that facilitates the knowledge sharing. Okay, now with all that in place, what KM actually can do for us? So there are a lot of values that we can get out of this. And if we want to iterate everything, I don't think we have enough time to actually cover everything. So I will just highlight a few over here. So the first one, as you can see, is institutional knowledge retention. So that is the key reason why we do knowledge management. We want to ensure that the knowledge, whether be it in the document form, in the system, or even in people's head, which is the tacit knowledge we call it, is properly captured and kept for easy access. So this is actually to address the risk of losing valuable institutional knowledge when the employee actually retire or leaves. Okay, and for that actually, in SC, we have a series of knowledge sharing or knowledge capturing session with a few brands that we give, it ranging from capturing general knowledge up to the subject matter knowledge that actually resides within the subject matter's mind. but the aim is only one, to codify, to capture and codify the knowledge, and we share it for the enterprise or the organization benefit. And with this knowledge sharing session that we did, that is also encourage employee engagement. So where it can be a platform for the employees to share their knowledge with others. And this is also promotes a culture of continuous learning. With this in place, where we already captured the knowledge, we provide sessions where employee can share their knowledge and we capture it, we keep it, we organize it. The captured knowledge can be used to actually help we improve our operational efficiency. Imagine if, let's say, you have a few projects that you did in the past and you capture the lessons learned from those projects. And new team came in and they are actually doing quite similar project. So the first thing that they can do is actually to go to this repository and see what were the success factor that the previous team has done, so that one, they will not repeat the same mistake that the previous team has encountered, and they can repeat the best practices to ensure successful delivery of the project. Apart from that, we also have this, what we call fostering innovation. So when they actually utilizing the project lessons learned repository and looking into how the past teams solved the problem, it may also spark creative solutions that were not thought before that can be create new ideas on how to solve the similar issue. And last but not least, this is actually focusing more on management, because when we have all the past experience and also data-driven insights, one thing that we definitely can do is actually to enhance our decision-making, because it will reduce uncertainty because you have all your data and you can do an informed decision. So I believe I'll stop here for now. So if you have any question, you can ask me later on this. Back to you, Madam Safa.
Thank you, Madam Azlina, for those valuable insights. Now we move to Dr. Khairil. The first question is, what are the essential components of an effective knowledge management strategy that support long-term organizational growth and sustainability? In your view, what role do leaders need to play in fostering the KM culture, and how do you inculcate the culture of KM at JKR? Over to you, Dr. Khairil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. Thank you to UIA, IIUM for inviting me, also Ms. Azlina, to be part of this wonderful forum for this morning. So 3 parts of my question. Number 1 will be, what are the essential components of a KM, effective KM strategy? And then I will delve into the role of leaders in fostering KM culture, followed by how do we in JKR inculcate the KM culture. Okay, can you please go to the next slide? Okay, the first part of my question will be, what are the components of the elements of an effective KM strategy? So there are a number of elements that is reported or is detailed in journals or in experience any organization when it comes to developing KM strategy. I would like to focus on these 4. Some of the points have been answered or been detailed by Ms. Azlina just now, and I would echo what she just said. Number 1 would be to align the KM implementation with the vision and mission of the organization. So this is quite critical, because when it comes to the alignment between KM vision and goals with the organizational business goals, it helps to link the benefits what KM offers to the table. It gives KM purpose. It is a purpose-driven effort. It helps to contribute directly to the organizational growth. I'll give you a quick example when it comes to the importance of aligning the KM strategic goals with the organizational goals. In JKR, we are the technical arm of the public sector, where we are involved in overseeing the development of infrastructure projects. So as we all know, in executing projects, there are success stories that we can share, but there are also issues and problems that we face. If you don't document, if you don't share those issues and problems, and the occurrence of that issues, it will repeat again in the future is quite high. So what we do in JKR as part of the KM efforts is we develop an initiative called Project Lessons Learned. So in this initiative, we have a workshop where we would invite all the stakeholders, whether in the project team, our client, consultant, contractors, to be part of this series of workshops where everybody will come in and then they will share the experience of executing the projects. So some of them will share the success story, and some of them will share the issues, the problem that they face during the implementation of the projects. So there'll be a team who are going to document the learnings. And then from that report that we get from each team, so altogether now we have around in our repository around somewhere in the vicinity of 400 reports. So we did some analysis on those reports. So the finding from that reports, we presented back to the management, to the project team. So in the way it helps to make sure that whatever issues, mistakes, problems that occur for the previous projects will not be repeated for the upcoming projects. And it helps to in a way to give, to provide the department on how to better manage our projects and in order to achieve the organizational objective. Number two, I would like to emphasize on the important role played by the leaders and the management when it comes to promoting knowledge management. So leaders, they need to advocate the role, the importance of KM, as mentioned by Ms. Azlina just now. They need to show the value, to demonstrate the value of what KM brings to the organizations. So in order to do this, they have to be, I would say, the role model. They have to be active in all the knowledge sharing activities that have been conducted throughout the organizations. And then they have to do their part. For example, share their insights, share their experience in doing projects, in managing projects and whatnot, so that it gives a feel-good atmosphere throughout the organizations, that the management give an important, how do I say, value when it comes to the AKM implementations. Number three, I will touch on how do we foster the knowledge sharing throughout the organizations. So as an element in KM strategy, it is critical for you to create a culture of openness, trust, and collaboration. From the example that I give you just now, when it comes to redocumenting the project lessons learned, so without the culture of having this trust, openness, and collaborations, so there'll be a number of individuals who are going to be reluctant in order to share their insights, the experience. Perhaps they would get, how do I say, curious, or they are concerned whether the things that they share during the workshop will be higher. So in order to do this, the management need to create or to foster a culture of safe within the organization that people can share their knowledge. And last but not least is to invest in technology. As we all know, when it comes to doing initiative, technology serve as the backbone, as mentioned by Madam Azlina just now. So it is the utmost important from the management side to prepare all the resources when it comes to technology. They need to invest some allocations to develop friendly, usable application that are scalable for the near future, so that everybody can make full use of the system that have been developed for the KM implementations. Okay. Next, I would go touch on the role of leaders when it comes to fostering KM culture. Again, as I mentioned just now, when it comes to the element of KM strategy, a number of factors or elements that are involved when it comes to implementing knowledge management. And when it comes to the role of leaders in fostering KM culture, I have listed 6 of them to share with all of you today. The first 2 touch directly to the role of a leader and also the manager. Again, they should lead by examples. They should advocate what are the value that KM brings to the organizations. And then by doing this, they set the tone throughout the entire organizations why KM must be implemented within the organizations. And when it comes to championing KM initiative, they should be the model that set the behavior of the staff. This is by sharing some insights, some experience on their own when it comes to their experience in within the organizations. This will definitely encourage the employees to be part of the KM initiative more. Number 3 is to embed the KM into processes. So this is, for example, if you can introduce certain processes, certain activities within the strategic plan of the organizations. And then throughout the strategic plan, we can introduce certain KPIs so that we can measure the effect of the knowledge management initiative that we implemented throughout the organizations. Number 4, again, as mentioned just now, is to provide the resources and allocations in order to conduct the activities, in order to invest into technology, to develop system and whatnot. And when it comes to creating a safe environment, as I mentioned just now, when it comes to KM to thrive, we need the importance of the management to foster an open, collaborative, and also a safe and trust element within the ecosystem of the organizations. Because when we have this safe environment, people would feel safe for them to share their insight, share their experience and whatnot within other colleagues. And last but not least, when it comes to incentivizing the knowledge sharing, this helps to motivate the employees to share more with or to be part of the KM activities that are being conducted within the organizations. Like for example, in JKR yesterday, we have our own knowledge fair called Pesada Minda. So in JKR, we have a number of initiatives we introduced, for example, our virtual COP, and then we have our repository. And for those who are active in asking questions, in answering, in sharing their answers, and so give comments to the virtual COP portal, we reward them with certain tokens that was given by the top management, and we invited them to be part of the knowledge fair yesterday. So it helps to motivate and encourage more employees within the organizations to be part of the KM effort in JKR, for example. And the third question will relate on the how do we inculcate the culture of KM at JKR. So this one, what I can summarize is that first, we would ensure that the support and buy-in from the employees, how do I say, is given utmost importance by the management. So in inculcating the culture, we would like to develop a safe and open ecosystem so that everyone who are part of this KM efforts in JKR, they would be more than willing to share their knowledge with their colleagues and then to be part of the activities that are being held within the organizations. So I hope that answered the question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Azlina and Dr. Khairil, for your insightful perspective on this. It's fascinating to see how KM can lead to tangible performance improvements. Moving on to our second round, Madam Azlina, your question is, what are some of the most effective KM best practices and tools currently available, and how can organizations integrate them to maximize their effectiveness in enhancing organizational performance. Can you provide a real example to illustrate their successful applications? Please take it away, Madam Azlina.
Thank you, Madam Safa. I received these questions a lot. I believe that because my past background on technology as well, and not only on KM. So when we talk about knowledge management, is not simply having a KM system in place, because that is not enough. But what is more important is the organization must apply the right best practices and also integrate the right tools to maximize its effectiveness. So when we talk about best practices, there's a lot of best practices, but I believe I would like to touch on these 3 best practices, as you can see. The first one is fostering knowledge sharing culture. As I would like to echo what Dr. Khairil was mentioned just now, management or leaders must create a safe environment for this to foster the knowledge sharing culture. Because if I can relate to my experience in the past or even the current one, sometimes the employee will have some reservation in sharing whatever knowledge that they have if they have this concern about being scrutinized or being punished if the knowledge is not the right one. We are not saying that we want to capture something that is wrong, but if you don't provide a safe place where they can come in and just throw whatever concerns that they have, whether that's good or bad, we will not get the holistic view of the project, for example. Because all projects, I believe, there will be some hiccups that you need to capture, because those were the ones that usually not appear in any document. Who wants to capture or who wants to document something that is issues? But capturing what were the problem at that time, what were the issues, and how did you actually overcome or resolve the issue, that is actually the valuable information that you want to capture through this knowledge sharing culture or knowledge sharing platform. And as I mentioned, with that, when you are able to actually capture those through the knowledge sharing, this is where you want to embed that into your process. So whenever we learn something, so those actually can be an addition to the normal process that you have been doing. Another thing about fostering knowledge sharing culture that I want to highlight is in SC, we actually introduce what we call as KM agent. So the role of this KM agent is a liaison between their department and KM. Because we in KM, my team, our team, we don't have what it takes to speak on the same language as what they did in their department. So this KM agent actually work as a bridge between the department and us, so that we can understand better what they need, their pinpoint, their requirements, so that we can help them to do their work better. The second one is about documenting lessons learned. So lessons learned is something, as Dr. Khairil shared just now, I believe JKR has done a tremendous job in collecting lessons learned from their projects. Because it is not easy. I tell you, it's not easy to capture lessons learned. There's a lot of effort, a lot of man hours required to actually document this. But the benefit that you can get out of this is very, very valuable. Because, as I said, you are not only documenting what is done right, but you're also documenting what didn't go so well when we did the project last time, which sometimes that was not something that people wants to talk about, but that was something that is very, very important so that we are not repeating the same mistake when we actually doing similar project in the future. And the last thing is about creating knowledge communities. So this is actually very valuable or essential, especially if you have a distributed workforce, either across region or across the globe. So like JKR, community of practice is very, very essential because they have offices all over Malaysia. However, the issues or the problem that they actually encounter in Kedah, for example, is quite similar to the problem they encounter in Johor. So whatever solution that the people in Kedah team has taken to solve the issue might be replicated by the people in other region. So that is why having this community of practice where they share similar interests, similar issue, asking questions, how to solve problem that they encounter where other people has resolved that before is very, very valuable. Now, let's move into the KM tools. With the advancement of technology, I believe there's a lot of tools available in the market now. However, as I mentioned earlier, any solutions that you want to adopt, you have to ensure that when you integrate the solution or the tools, it must be seamless integration into your organization's daily workflow or process so that it will not interrupt the current operation. And the second one, it must be easy to use. That is the most important. There's no point having a flashy tool, but it is complex to use. Then that will just be a big white elephant that no one will use it. So among the tools, the KM tools that we can actually incorporate in the KM practices within organization to help organization performance is like collaborative platform such as MS SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint. I believe most of us has that experience using Microsoft SharePoint. So if you're using Microsoft SharePoint, it's not only giving you the unified platform for content sharing, document management, but also a collaborative platform for you to communicate, to interact between one another. So it allows the organization to create a centralized repository where all the reports, all the tacit knowledge that you have captured, shared on one common platform. So in SC, we actually make use of Microsoft tools like Teams, SharePoints to actually have this collaborative platform where the tacit knowledge that we capture from the subject matter experts was edited, we curate it, we chunk it into bite-sized nuggets, and then we share it on the platform for the consumption of our employees. The second one is knowledge bases or repositories. So this one, it could be like I gave example just now when I was in INSEAD. So the repository is still up and running until now. It is called INSEAD Knowledge Repository. So it hosts and collates all the intellectual contributions by the professors, the lecturers, as well as thesis produced by the students. So it has become a central repository for INSEAD knowledge products. So on top of these two, actually, if you can embed or you can integrate a search optimization tool, this is essential when it comes to knowledge dissemination. You don't want to actually have everything in place, but when people want to search or to find for something, they cannot find it because your search ability is not being optimized. So you want to ensure that the right information was captured and also delivered to the right people at the right time. So how is being delivered? One way is through search. So when people search for something, they are able to find it. And whatever result that they got is actually relevant result. So you can imagine Google is actually one big knowledge basis or knowledge repository where they have enhanced over time their search capability. So that is why if you see now, when you search something, you are not only just get the list of websites that you can go and understand what are the content, but sometimes they are able to actually extract out to you highlights that answering the question or the search phrase that you are looking for. And that was done actually via semantic search. So there's ontology and knowledge bases that actually works behind the scene. And that actually goes into the artificial intelligence. So we talk about artificial intelligence, it is about how you make use of machine learning, natural language processing to help you extract and unearth the information or the knowledge that you have within the vast amount of content that you have and make sense out of it. You create some relationship between the knowledge that you extract. And this is what artificial intelligence is all about. And finally, analytics. So analytics is one of the key tools that you need to have now because it gives you the measures of impact of your KM practices. If you talk with your management, usually management will just want to understand, how do you measure this? What is the impact of your KM initiatives that you did in the organization? And you can only answer that if you have good analytics in place. So as Dr. Khairil mentioned just now, it could be as simple as how many views you get from your repository, how many downloads, how many people actually come and open your repository. Those are simple analytics that you can have. And when it comes to ensuring that these are being maximized into your KM practices, I would like to echo what Dr. Khairil mentioned just now. First thing is you have to ensure that your KM is actually aligned with your business objective. That is very, very important. You can actually go and learn about some KM tool somewhere and come back and apply that to your organization. But the question is whether your organization requires that KM practices or KM tool or not. So what you need to do first is actually to understand internally what is the issue or the pinpoint that you are having. What is our mandate that we need to deliver? If you want to break down into individual departments, that would be much better. Then you can understand, you have a common problem that actually go across the organization, or you have pocketed problem that only applies to certain departments. Then, when you actually come up with your KM strategy, or you want to introduce KM framework, or you want to acquire new KM tool, you are able to actually find something that can address the issue or the pain point that your organization is actually having. Then, with that, you are able to gain the traction or get the buy-in from the user to start using the KM tools that you implemented. The second one is about encouraging cross-departmental collaboration. This is where I mentioned just now, when we have knowledge sharing culture, try to do it not only within the individual department because it will continue to create silo, but you go across function, across department. Because sometimes you never know. A problem that was solved by one department can actually, the solution can be replicated in another department, even though they are having different nature of work, but the nature of problem sometimes is quite similar. But without you having this knowledge sharing and encouraging the cross-departmental collaboration, this solution will not arise. And the third one, and this for me is very, very important in order to ensure the sustainability of the KM practices, is to have ongoing awareness about KM, ongoing training, as well as ensuring change management. So ongoing training and awareness is very, very important when, especially when you have new KM initiative or KM tools in place, because you need to train the people on how to use this and how that can benefit them in doing their work. When it comes to change management, we always believe that any new initiative that you want to introduce, the stakeholders, the people who will be affected by this initiative needs to be informed from the beginning. You cannot wait until the system has completed, then you roll out. At that time, you just want to tell them, because that will not work well. So change management is one of the key aspects in ensuring that our implementation could be successful. And in our case, the change management, we usually do it through the KM agents that I mentioned just now, because they are our change agent. They were the one who will be able to speak KM language in their terms. So that is why having a dedicated KM agent from each department for us is a success. But to encourage their active participation, you need to give some incentive to them. So in our case, we actually, instead of giving token, giving monetary incentive, we recognize their effort and their contributions into their performance management. So they are able to actually claim that they have done this for KM. And we will evaluate them. So in conclusion, I can say for effective KM best practices, you need to foster the knowledge sharing culture, document lessons learned, as well as creating COP. And when you combine with the various KM tools that you have, definitely it can help to transform the organization into a more efficient, more innovative, and also a more competitive entity. All right, so I think that's all from me. Back to Madam Moderator, Madam Safa. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam, for the insightful sharing. Okay, now it's time to hear from Dr. Khairil. What are the key success factors for developing and implementing effective knowledge management practices within an organization? And what knowledge management tools would you recommend for organizations to adopt? The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Before I start my slide, can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right, thank you. Can you go to the next slide? Right, when it comes to critical success factor, there are a number of elements when it comes to CSF. They are reported in literature. The one that I listed here in the slide, 6 of them are based on our personal experience at JKR implementing knowledge management. And some of them have been stated by Madam Azlinayati just now. And then I would perhaps expand a little bit more on certain elements. Number one, as mentioned earlier, when it comes to strong leadership and commitment. So this one I couldn't emphasize strong enough, because having that strong leadership by the management, by the leaders of the organizations, it helps set the tone, the tone to the organization, to the employees, that KM play a critical value to the organizations. And when it comes to, when I talk about commitment, is the kind of support, the kind of things that advocated by the leadership throughout the organization when it comes to KM. They are not there just to attend the KM activities like knowledge sharing activities, knowledge discourse and whatnot, but they are more than willing to invest in, for example, technology, in resources when it comes to implementing knowledge management. By doing this, it helps to elevate the organizations towards achieving the mission and vision of the set forth earlier through the use of knowledge management. Which brings me to the next factor, which is the clear KM strategy and objective. In my first part, I talk about the elements of KM strategy, right? So having a clear KM strategy and objective that align and sync well with the organization's business goals is again critical, because it helps to demonstrate what KM brings to the table, right? And it bring a clear objective and understanding how KM can contribute to achieving the vision and mission of the strategy. I would like to put a caveat over here. When it comes to KM strategy, as mentioned earlier by Madam Azlina, whatever works in JKR, at SC, at INCF, Banega, Petronas, might not work within the realm of your own organization, because in KM there is no such thing as one size fits all. You have to, perhaps during our, if I can just elaborate our experience in curating KM strategy in JKR back in the year of 2007 and 2008, when we were at the initial stage of developing knowledge management implementation in JKR. We went through a series of benchmarking throughout the organization that have implemented knowledge management in Malaysia. For example, we went to Petronas, we went to Bank Negara, we went to a few other agencies to have an idea how they curate the KM strategy and what are the elements and the factors that works, so that we can go to the design table and we can identify what are the elements that we need to focus on. It relates to your business goals, to your mission and vision, so that you can identify what are the elements that need to be put into the KM strategy. And the third element we talked about earlier as well, having that supportive organizational culture, is again the word or the phrase, a safe environment, a safe ecosystems came into mind. For example, the project lessons learned initiative that I mentioned earlier. It would be such a difficulty if you were to ask the project team members we have in JKR, head of project team, head of design team, and the superintending officer or the project team, come together in this workshop. And then when we ask them to share the best practice, what are the success stories they can share during the implementation of this particular project that they have involved before. So I don't think that will be such a problem. But when it comes to asking them to share what were the issues, what were the problems, what were the mistakes that happened, if you don't have that sense of belonging, that trust, that openness within the organizations, then we would have such problem asking them to share their experience when it comes to issues, problems, also mistakes, because they might fear that if they would to share those episodes, it would backfire them. They would be punished, for example. So that is the critical part where we have to keep on reminding them that for such workshop, if you're not able to dig and also to document the mistakes for the upcoming future, for the similar projects, it's going to be repeated again. So with such resources, including the human resource, financial aspects of doing projects and whatnot. So from time to time, we would do initiative activities throughout the organizations to show that whenever you're part of this CAM efforts, CAM initiative, you are safe. You are in a safe environment, safe ecosystem, that you don't have to build, you don't have to feel fear to share whatever things with other colleagues, even if involve having mistake or not. Because there's no such thing when it comes to implementing project in JKR, for example, that the project can be delivered 100% without any problem, without any hiccups, any issues or any mistakes. Number 4 is technology infrastructure. Again, I would like to remind when it comes to the field success factor that involve technology infrastructure, based on our studies and our benchmarking sessions, some organizations, they are blessed with a certain amount of resources, especially when it comes to the finance, to procure systems, to develop portals and whatnot. But some, perhaps they are not that resourceful when it comes to having certain financial limit. But when it comes to KM, we all know that there are 2 ways of doing KM. One is the it's not, how do I say, is the offline or the online, the technology-centric or non-technology-centric applications. So technology definitely helps, right? If you have the resources, if you have the financial support, please do use as much as resources that you can have to develop the right technology and infrastructure, because it will help to expedite the process of depositing, the process of keeping, the process of sharing the knowledge with others. I would take, for example, in JKR, perhaps we are somehow limited within the realm of Malaysia, right? So we have HQ, we have states, we have districts. But compared to Petronas, for example, our oil and gas company, they don't have just offices in Malaysia. They have the downstream offices all over the world. How do they expedite the process of sharing best practice, the lessons learned from each countries or each projects throughout the whole world? So by the use of technology. That's what I mean by using technology and infrastructure to the fullest, so that you will ensure that the KM implementation will be a success and we can sustain the implementation of the initiative. Number 5, when it comes to the continuous learning and adaptability, I will take one example. Again, I will go back to the example of Petronas and also JKR. Yesterday, during our knowledge fair, there was a forum moderated by Tuan Manaf about on the use of AI and knowledge sharing, right? Technology, AI, and dan pemudayaan ilmu. So we were talking about organizations who have their own AI agent. Having, before this, when it comes to the implementation of KM, it was way back into early 2000 or in the late 1990s. The one thing that jumpstart KM implementation during the late 1990s or the early 2000s would definitely be the use of technology. By using technology, we can have, during that time, we have wiki, we have blogs, and then we have knowledge repository. And then we can it will be easier to disseminate knowledge by emails, by shared portals, Wikipedia, and whatnot. But nowadays, fast forward 20 years ahead, and then suddenly we are faced with the possibility of using AI. So this is where continuous learning adaptability come into play. You need to adapt whatever things the KM effort they're doing within the department in order to adapt well with whatever things that are available now. For example, in Petronas, we want to understand that they have their own AI agent called JAI, Job AI. So it's something similar like ChatGPT, like Gemini, or what's the other one, Copilot by Microsoft. But the best thing about JAI or Job AI from Petronas is they have their own data set. It's not open to public, it's only for internal use. So you can ensure whatever things that are being, how to say it, deposited into the AI agents are validated knowledge that are being used by Petronas, so that the element of bias will not come into play. So they would be sure that whatever things are being shared by the AI agent, in our case, JAI, there's something that can use, they can rely upon so that they can take to the next step by having further discussion or to validate future whether the knowledge is correct, whether the output given by the AI agent is correct or not. So this is what I mean by adaptability and also continuous learning. And then last but not least, as mentioned earlier as well, when it comes to measurement and continuous improvement, when it comes to KM, it is critical for you to have a certain mechanism to measure the impact of the KM brings to the organizations. As simple as our virtual COP, where we would view, how I say, analyze the trend, the number of views, the number of people interact with the system when it comes to asking questions, answering the question, also give commands. And then for those people who vote up and down when it comes to certain questions, whether they find the questions to be relevant to JKR or whatnot. These are the kind of thing that helps to measure the output of the KM initiative. And as an example that I can use is the number of online learning modules that we develop, the number of participants that engage in certain activities, like for example, we have this site visit, or we have this knowledge sharing from certain vendors, or certain product developers, or we have this public discourse or technical discourse by our subject matter experts. We would measure the number of people attending the sessions, viewing the sessions online, the number of documents downloaded from our repository. So this helps to engage with our management, with our leaders, to showcase the success story of KM. Perhaps it is at the superficial level when it comes to talking about the number of views, number of the number of documents downloaded, the number of documents uploaded. Because when we will talk about the real value of KM, sometimes during our roadshow or our ECKM roadshow, where we have every single month in JKR, I would often receive a question asked by a member of the audience, whether by having KM, it helps to ensure that project executed by JKR will be delivered on time, on quality that has been addressed by the clients, and also according to the cost that has been stipulated earlier. I would say my answer would be KM helps in certain ways, because take for example, I give you one example, right? I can't say for sure, I can't say like, okay, by having KM in JKR, we are able to ensure that projects are being delivered, say for example, 20% earlier than the stipulated time. Perhaps we are moving towards that, but all I can say that during this roadshow, we explained that when we have KM, people got involved in the knowledge sharing activities. Like for example, we have this technical discourse by our SMEs, and then they would ask questions to the SMEs to get ideas, and then they would have go on to innovate certain new process, certain products they can use for their projects. And then when the product or the process is embedded in their projects, it helps with the development or the the execution of the projects. So in a way, it helps. KM helps because KM set the foundation when it comes to knowledge, so that when it comes to executing projects, the decision-making process will be much faster because we have the right knowledge, and then they will have this knowledge sharing ecosystem that they are more than willing when it comes to technical meeting and whatnot. They are more than willing to share their ideas with the team members so that they can find solutions to the problems. So this answered the first part of my question when it comes to KM critical success factor. The second question will be the KM tools that I would recommend for organizations to adopt. Again, I want to put a caveat. What I'm going to answer in a short while, this perhaps doesn't apply to all organizations, but it goes back to your mission and vision of your department in identifying what are the best KM tools. And just now, Madam Azlina has highlighted a number of KM tools on that can be applied by organization. But I would like to suggest 2 or 3 tools that can be adopted by your organization when it comes to implementing knowledge management. Number 1 is the low cost activities when it comes to KM is a simple knowledge sharing discourse, right? I'm talking about activity. I will come to the tools later on. Knowledge sharing discourse, you invite SME, subject matter expert in certain field, and then you invite participants, whether to be within the room itself, having them to physically attend the sessions, have like 2-hour sessions, and then ask the SME to deliver a short presentation, say for half an hour or 1 hour would be suffice, followed by Q&A sessions. So they help to foster that knowledge sharing environment. Number 2, when it comes to activities, COPs, mentioned earlier by Madam Azlina, that is a very potent activity that can be implemented within organizations, because in COP we have people who have the same passions for a particular domain, say for example project management or ability information modeling, the current AI agent tools that we are using now in JKR. When we have people from the same, who have the passion for the same domain, they would come together in COP, either physically or online, or as a virtual COP as mentioned earlier. They'd be more than willing to share their knowledge, followed by their skills, and third by their experience. Now we're talking about related experience over here. And we have the expert, we have the SME, we have perhaps those who have been involved in that particular field for a certain amount of years. And we have the younger generations, the Gen Z, they are just to hear what the SME, the leaders of that particular field are going to share. And then it gives you that fulfilling feels that, you are in a safe zone, and people more than willing to share their experts, skills, and also their knowledge for others as key takeaway on that. Right now, I will touch a little bit on the tools. On the tools, the most basic one, this is based on our experience in JKR. In 2009, we started off with a wiki, we call it JPDR. We use the foundation is the wiki, and then we customize the open source for that media wiki. And then we develop, it doesn't cost much. I would say that less than 50,000, but that was back in 2008. But it set the foundations for the knowledge repository in JKR. For example, wiki. That is a knowledge repository tool. And number 2 will be the JCOP, that we have the virtual COP. Having physical COP is as important having a virtual COP. Remember in 2020, when we were faced with the pandemic of COVID-19, when we started the physical COP in JKR, it was in 2013. So we have 9 domains altogether in JKR when it comes to COPs. And then we would appointed the leaders for each COP. We call them the base team, if I'm not mistaken. And then we invite participants from all over JKR to be part of that physical COP. At the same time, in 2018, we introduced our virtual COP, known as Portal JCOP. For those things that are being discussed during the physical interactions of COP, perhaps some of those participate in their sessions, maybe they are shy, maybe they don't have enough time to ask a question during that COP physical. They were asked in the virtual COP. So it helps to extend. It's an extension of what the physical COP is in JKR, the virtual COP. When COVID-19 occurred in the late 2019 and 2020, we are blessed and we are fortunate that we have introduced virtual COP in 2018 because the culture we have more or less set the tone and the culture of knowledge sharing is already there. So when we couldn't conduct physical activities due to the restrictions implemented during the COVID-19, during the early 2020 until somewhere in the late 2022, we utilized our virtual COP as a platform for people to come together, ask questions about the problem that they are facing, and then we would engage with subject matter experts because they couldn't attend the office physically. Everybody now is at home, work from home. So we saw an incremental rise in the usage of virtual COP during that time. And then it helps. It helps when it comes to the usage of our portal Jacob. When the SME they are committed to the use of the portal, and then they will answer the question asked by the audience. The last tools that I would like to emphasize would definitely be the usage of AI, mentioned just now by Petronas. Currently in JKR, we are in the mode of trying to develop our own AI agent, and hopefully it will come to materialize in the near future. But I think for the time being, that's all I can share with all of you. Again, I would like to highlight the caveat that when it comes to the KM tools and also techniques, it depends on your KM strategy. It doesn't mean that whatever JKR, whatever INSEF, whatever SC or Petronas are doing would fit nicely into your organization. You have to refer to your account strategy in order to develop those activities and tools. So back to you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Khairil and Madam Azlina for such enlightening explanation. I believe that would be the wrap up for session for second round. Before we proceed to the third round, I can see on the chat box there are questions keep coming in. But please hold on to that part because we're going to have Q&A session at the end of the forum. So we'll proceed to the final round. Let's shift the focus to Madam Azlina. Your question is, what are some common challenges organizations face when integrating KM best practices and how they overcome these challenges to ensure successful adoption and sustained impact? Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Safa. So when it comes to this question, I believe the challenges is everywhere. Even if you're not implementing KM, you will still have the challenges. So the response that I will give is not really focusing on my organization, but I can say this is a common challenge that most organizations actually face. And I will try my best to share how or what is the best way that you can actually do to overcome those challenges. So the first one is cultural resistance. Remember, at the beginning, when I discussed or I explained about the KM concept, and one of the key enablers to the KM practices is people. Because people are the one who will contribute to the knowledge, people are the one who will consume. So even though you have good implementation of KM, but if no one is actually using it, there is no benefits. So cultural resistance is highly associated to how the people within your organization actually perceive or embrace the knowledge management or knowledge practices that you put in place. So if your employee or the employee actually hesitant to share the knowledge or to collaborate or to even use the knowledge that has been retained, still the KM implementation is not a success, and perhaps we cannot achieve the targeted efficiency and effectiveness of the organization. So to overcome this, first, as I think throughout the session, we, myself and Dr. Khairil, we have emphasized this, I think, so many times. Leadership commitment is one of the key to overcome the cultural resistance. So as Dr. Khairil mentioned just now, the leaders, the top management, have to set the right tone about embracing these knowledge management initiatives. They have to walk the talk, means in terms of providing the right tools, investing the substantial amount of money to actually enable the KM implementation, giving the right rewards, the right recognition to the contributors of the knowledge initiative. Those are actually what needs to be done by the leaders. So it's not only the top management, but it must be actually cascade down to the head of department, head of units, and to the general staff overall. The second one is to incorporate KM into performance metric. And I would like to add here, it's not only performance metric, but to incorporate KM into your business processes. Because if you actually separate the two, people will find it as a burden for them to actually embrace the KM practices. Imagine if you say that, okay, this is a business process, then once you finish this, you have to do this. So when you are actually introducing something that is disintegrate from the existing business processes, people will find it, oh, I don't have time to do this. We don't have enough resources and so on. But imagine if you actually put the KM practices, for example, make sure that at every stage of your process, you have to ensure that the document is deposited into the provided repository, for example. That is a good records management practice that you put in place. So when it is embedded into the business process, that will become part of the everyday routine that the employee have to do. And when they were able to actually accomplish that excellently, we have to reward them. Because usually when you are able to reward, people will get more motivated. So you can reward in terms of, in our case, we reward them by inputting that as part of their performance metric. So if they are able to actually contribute this much, then they will get certain percentage out of their performance evaluation. Then when you are able to do that, it will help to inculcate and nurture that habit into the culture. So they will find it something that is not burdening them, but it's something that they would like to do it on their willingness. And as I mentioned, to have the rewards and recognition. So in SC, every year we actually conduct KM week. So there are a few objectives of us organizing KM week. One of it is actually to showcase good KM implementations, KM practices that the department has been doing. So that is part of rewards and recognition. And then the second one is to educate. So for those who are new or even for the current staff, we keep on continuing inviting experts from the industry to help share how knowledge management actually improve their performance in the organization. And the third one, we actually established a few awards for individual as well as department. So that is actually a way for us to encourage active participation from the people in the organization. So the second challenge that we can identify here is lack of clear KM strategy. Dr. Khairil has mentioned about this just now. KM strategy is very, very important to ensure a successful implementation of KM within an organization. However, as we keep on highlighting, KM strategy that is established in one organization is not necessarily applicable in another organization because, as Dr. Khairil mentioned just now, KM solution is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Everything will go down into what is required by your organization, what issues that you want to actually address in your organization. Then, if you are able to articulate that and document it, then you are able to actually come up with a clear KM strategy. It must be something that is measurable because that is how you want to ensure or you want to measure whether your KM strategy is a successful one. Some organizations, before they come up with the KM strategy, they actually conduct knowledge audit or KM audit. So this is actually a way for us to do some health check of the organization's level of readiness, as well as what are the issues that our organization actually facing. And we can also look at the severity of that issue. And we can be able to prioritize which one that we need to address first. So when we're able to address this in the KM strategy, then we can implement a KM initiative, whether it be a knowledge sharing session, adopting new systems, or whatsoever, that can reduce redundancy as well as speed up the innovation. The third challenge that I would like to discuss here is on technological barriers. So I did emphasize at the beginning that any tools or any technology that we want to adopt into your organization, it must be something that should be seamlessly integrated into your processes or your workflows, and it must also be easy to use. That is the most important. However, some organizations just focus on flashy tools, advanced tools, without looking into is this the right tool that my organization require? Because that will be the first answer, the first questions that you need to answer. So to address the technological barriers, first is to select the right KM tools that address or correctly address your business pain points. That is the most important. So imagine if someone is hungry, but you bring books to them. So does it actually fulfill the needs of the person? No. But if someone is hungry, you bring fried rice. So that actually can help this person overcome his hungriness. So this is some analogy into, we have to ensure that we bring or we select the right tools to address the business pain point. The second one is about system integration. Okay, so when we select the tool, we have to ensure that do we have the right infrastructure in place for the tool to be implemented and to be rolled out. Because sometimes you have good tools, but you don't have the right infrastructure. As easy as during the COVID-19, we have to go mostly virtual. So we have a lot of tools. Zoom is one of the virtual tool that enable us to actually interact and collaborate and do work during that time. However, some organization cannot get the maximum use of this tool because they don't have the right capacity of their internet connection to actually provide or support the use of this tool. So this is where when I say to ensure that system integration, the tool to be correctly used within the environment, you have to make sure that we have the right infrastructure. If one system needs to talk to another system, so there must be some API that actually can talk to one another, and so on. And this can happen if we know what is our end goal that we want to get out of it. And the third one is we need to have an ongoing awareness as well as training. So this is very, very important, especially if you have new technology that you introduce, because you want everyone to actually come and use that technology or the system that you roll out. But without proper training or proper awareness, the system will just be there without anyone using it. And the last one is about sustaining KM initiatives. So I don't know whether you are aware, there are organizations that previously have good KM implementation, but after some point, the KM implementation just died off. And in Malaysia, we are unique because the KM in Malaysia, the department itself sits at various job functions. So for example, in some organization, the KM actually sits in the library. In my organization, the KM actually sits in the corporate resource. In some organization, the KM actually sits in the IT team. So regardless of which job function that the KM resides, at the end of the day, what we want to achieve is the same. And the key point is we want to sustain these KM practices over a long term. So the first way to actually overcome this is to have a continuous leadership support. So one of the reasons why the KM dies in some organization because when they change the management. and the alignment is no longer the same. So this is one of the reasons why. So continuous leadership support, no matter which chairman or which CEO comes in, we need to sing the same song, that knowledge management is important, and that is actually the backbone of your organization, because this is where all your institutional knowledge is kept. The second one is to establish KM champions, or in our case, we call it KM agents. This is actually to ensure that whatever KM initiative that the KM department do can be cascaded down and can be embraced or can be explained in the language that the department understands. So in a way, it is actually the responsibility of the employee to actually help maintain the KM initiative, encouraging the participation, and keeps the KM activities on top of their mind. Next is we have to ensure that we regularly measure the impact of KM so that we are able to highlight the importance of having KM in the organization. This is another issue that can kill KM in certain organization, because that organization failed to measure and highlight the importance of KM in the organization. And the last one, KM strategy, KM systems, sometimes only relevant for a certain period of time. So to ensure that you have a sustaining KM initiative, you have to keep on refresh and review your KM implementation, your KM strategy, and to embrace the trends. Like now, we have AI. So how you can incorporate AI into your knowledge management strategy? So adopting new trends, new technology that can benefit your KM initiative is also a way for you to keep sustaining your KM initiative. So if I may conclude, knowledge management is not just a one-time effort. It is actually a continuous process that when it was done well, we can transform the organization to a more collaborative, a more innovative, and a more high-performing entity. With that, I give back the floor to Madam Safa. Thank you.
You're welcome, Madam Azlina. Indeed, KM is not only a process. It's not only for one-stop process, but it is ongoing. Okay, we move to Dr. Khairil for the final questions. How do organizational culture and resistance to change influence the success of knowledge management initiative? What strategies or best practices can leaders implement to create a more supportive environment for KM? Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I answer the question, I would like to touch a bit about a critical point highlighted by Madam Azlina just now when it comes to technological barriers. Mentioned about selecting the right tools, KM tools, in order to address the business pain point. This is a crucial point actually. Whenever you want to, any organization want to implement knowledge management, again, as mentioned just now, there's no one size fits all. You cannot just copy and paste strategy being adopted by certain organization into your organization without addressing your business pain points. I give you an example of JKR. When we did our feasibility study or viability study in 2008, among the things that we addressed, that we gone through is definitely the pain points. And two of the major or the key pain points that we were facing that time. Number one is the knowledge loss due to the mandatory retirement among the baby boomers generations. As we all know, baby boomers are those who were born between 1946 until 1964, if I'm mistaken. So when it comes to technical department like JKR, when an engineer, say for example, the director general himself or herself, for example, say, the top management. So most of the time, when an engineer or architect or surveyor join the department, um, majority of them would commit their working life toward the department. And when they retire, they have somehow in between 30 to 37 years. Our previous Director General, when he retired last year, he has served the department, I think, less than 10 days to reach 37 years. So you can just imagine all the tacit knowledge that our previous DG has based on his experience in managing projects, involved in doing designs and whatnot. So among the pain points that we confronted during that, number one is the knowledge loss. So how do we cater for knowledge loss? How do KM can alleviate or solve the issues of knowledge loss? When we did our study, when we refer to literature, refer to organizations that have conducted KM, we noticed that when it comes to knowledge loss, most of the organizations are in the form of tacit knowledge. So what better ways for us to capture tacit knowledge by having, for example, as an interview. So in 2011 until 2016 or 17, around that, we would embark on this exit interview initiative. We would interview our outgoing management or leaders. More often than not, the interview session would take a day long, and then we would edit, make sure everything is compiled just nicely so that it's presentable to the audience. And then we put them in DVDs, and now we have them in our repository, of course, in virtual, so that the new and the younger generation of architects, surveyors, and also engineers, they can refer back to the exit interviews. This is how our past leaders gone through their life as an engineer, architect, and surveyors for the department. So in a way, even though it is totally impossible for the department to capture all the tacit knowledge throughout the 37 years or 30 odd years they have been by the department, but it helps to mitigate the issues when it comes to knowledge sharing, to knowledge loss, especially when it comes to tacit knowledge. And number two, the business point, the business pain points would be slow decision-making process. Before the introduction of KM and JKR, we would have all the documents scattered all over. Some of them perhaps certain individuals, some of the documents perhaps in this cabinet, certain documents or books perhaps in our library and whatnot. So there is no central repository when it comes to the explicit document that we can gather all of them together. And then whomever need to access them in order to make a quick decisions, for example, right? They can go to this repository and then they can find the document and then they carry on with their works, whether attend meeting or to make decisions about this and whatnot. So we introduced to them our own repository called TPD as mentioned earlier. So this one, it is a very critical point highlighted by Madam Azlan just now when it comes to selecting the right tools that address your business pain points. Okay, now answering my questions when it comes to how do organizational culture and resistance to change influence the success of knowledge management initiative. When it comes to organizational culture, it refers to the shared values, to the belief, to the practices, and to the behavior of those who are employed by organizations or are part of the organizations. So it is crucial having the right culture in order to knowledge management to thrive. So in this slide, I have presented or I have shared with you what are the consequences if we were to have a collaborative culture, a safe space for people to come in, to be part of that KM initiative, to be part of the collaborating culture, as opposed to organizations which have a very competitive norm of doing waste, right? For the left side, talking about the collaborative culture, if you have the right culture, safe space when it comes to conducting KM activities, it helps to motivate the KM practices. More than people are more than willing to be part of the KM initiative, even though sometimes they have to spend certain amount of resources, for example, time, certain amount of cost, for example, for them to travel to certain places, perhaps to attend a knowledge sharing talk by one expert or one SME that is renowned in their field. So if you have the right culture, when they ask permission from the bosses to attend this kind of activities, boss more than willing to give permission, and it helps to motivate the KM team, the KM unit responsible for overseeing the KM activity within the organizations to curate and to develop more KM activities, right? Number one is to motivate the KM practices. And number two, it helps to foster the tacit knowledge interaction or sharing among the employees. If you have a safe space where people do not feel judged or feel discouraged to share whatever issues they are facing. I'll give you an example. If a person who have worked with the department less than 5 years, perhaps the issue they are facing, according to their perspective, is quite critical. But for those engineers who have worked with the department for more than 30 years, so these are the kind of issues that they face on daily basis. So are there ways to address the issue? So when they come together in a COP, for example, a project management COP domain, and the rookies will, or the newbies will ask these kind of questions without having the fear of being judged that or being discredited because they highlight issues that perhaps for them is big, but for the SMEs, those are part and parcel when it comes to implementing projects. So when they come together in an activity conducted while project management COP, and then the young engineers are able to highlight their concern about the problem they are facing with this project, and then the SME or the expert or the team leaders or the core team members, they are more than willing to share their insights, their solution based on their experience and whatnot. It helps to foster the interaction of tacit knowledge. And number three, or the third one, is to encourage knowledge session. Again, it goes back the example that I've given earlier when it comes to having certain CAM activities or certain CAM efforts like COP, and people can speak freely without having the fear of being discouraged by negative comments or feedback by the most senior engineers, architects, or surveyors. So it would help to sustain the KM effort within the department. So the KM units would be able to identify a number of COP workshops that can be introduced throughout the years without having the fear that people are reluctant to come because the collaborative culture is already there. Bosses more than willing to give permissions for the staff to be part of these activities because they know that whenever they are part of this COP, they can share their experience, they can share their mistake or their issue, the problem, and then there will be SMEs, others going to share their experience dealing with the same matters at their particular projects. It will inculcate and it will ensure that CAM activities are thrive within the organizations. On the other hand, if you have a competitive culture where people who share the issues, problem, mistake are viewed as negatively. So for this type of culture, it discourages the KM practice. And then people are not ready to share the tacit knowledge. One is the fear of, if you were to share this tacit knowledge with others in a competitive environment, we all know that they might use that to their own benefit. For example, perhaps they would use that to report to their bosses, or they will use that during interview in the promotion exercise. Because according to them, why should I share this knowledge with my colleagues? Because I'm the one who attended all the courses. I'm the one who do all the readings. I'm the one who participate in the seminars and whatnot. So I'm going to safeguard the knowledge to just me and myself without having the need to share with others. If you have this competitive culture in the organizations. And again, it will hinder the knowledge sharing activities to be part of your organizations. Next slide, please. Okay, when it comes to the impact of resistance to change to knowledge management, more than now, when it comes to why people resist to change is, I'll touch on the third point first, the change fatigue, right? We refuse to change, majority of us is because of the unknown. Perhaps the KM unit did not do a good job in explaining to the employees what knowledge management is all about, what are the benefits, what are the activities involved, and whatnot. And because of that, people are quite resistant to change, to be part of the KM efforts. And then the second part will be the job security fear, as mentioned earlier. They would say that if I were to share this knowledge more, not so much on the explicit knowledge because it's documented, it's readily available throughout the organizations. When it comes to tacit knowledge, that individuals get or gather from attending courses, attending seminars, attending sessions and whatnot. And if he or she is encouraged to share that knowledge with their colleagues, if they are resistant to change, and then they would feel that they would not want to do that because it would affect the job security. And then the third one will be the KM benefit ignorance. Again, if I can go back to the tasks that need to be carried out by the KM unit. When I mention the KM unit, I would like to just put a note on this. Based on our studies, and whenever we receive delegation from other organizations, public, TLC, and whatnot, come to JKR, and then they will ask us what are the key takeaways that we can bring to our leaders, our managers, how KM strategy should be developed within the organizations. One of the key takeaways I would remind them is, if it's possible, try to have a dedicated KM unit to look after your KM initiative. Because without having a dedicated KM unit, the task of handling the KM initiative would be a part-time job that is going to be put under a certain unit or certain division that they have other tasks need to be conducted. And because of that, they cannot focus on KM. We have team at SC, we have team at NCF, at Bank Negara, at Petronas, at JKR, which have a dedicated KM unit. And dedicated KM unit doesn't have to be a large team. It can be within the range to, like in JKR, we have 4 of us to look after the KM initiative that cater for 20,000 odd staff number of employees. They are located all over Malaysia. But we have knowledge champions. We engage knowledge champion from each office to act as our ambassador. It can range between 4 to 10. Then it will be just nice for the KM unit to do the job. So as part of the KM unit task is to conduct talk, to conduct roadshow, to disperse information to all the employees why the company or why the organizations is embarking on knowledge management. During that talk, we would explain the benefit of KM, as mentioned earlier by Madam Azlinayati. And then we would highlight what are the KM pilot projects that we are moving and what are the way forward the department is going to when it comes to knowledge management. So it helps to mitigate or address the issues when it comes to resistance to change, the job security fear, the KM benefit ignorance, and also the change fatigue. So with that, I end my presentations. Hand it back the floor to Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you once again to Dr. Khairil. And thank you both panelists for addressing those challenges so thoroughly. So it's clear that while there are hurdles, there are also effective strategies to navigate them. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Khairil and Madam Azlina, for your valuable insights throughout today's discussion. It's been enlightening to hear your thoughts on leveraging KM best practices to enhance organizational performance. So we are now at the Q&A sessions. One moment. Okay, Dr. Khairil and Madam Azlina, in the chat box as well, we do have opinions from Mr. Richards. Okay, perhaps if any panelists would like to add on his opinions, you can do so. But I will go to the first questions by Maisara. The questions came from Maisara. What are best promotional methods to promote and enhance understanding on KM? So this question is open. Who will take it?
Dr. Khairil, we got this one.
Okay, so Dr. Khairil, over to you.
Can you repeat the question again?
What are the best promotional methods to promote and enhance understanding on KM?
Okay. The key words are promotional methods, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. There are a number of ways on how you to promote KM within your organizations. Number one would be to conduct a roadshow continuously, because in organizations, people come in and retire or leave the department due to retirement or change of job and whatnot. So the first thing to do is to conduct a roadshow. In that roadshow, as mentioned earlier, you explain what KM is all about, what are the benefits. And then in addition, you might want to identify certain KM pilot project that you can expose or you can explain to the audience. And it doesn't have to be a high-tech KM activities when it comes to pilot projects. It can be a low-cost KM activities like knowledge sharing, like technical discourse that can be conducted nowadays. You don't have to be physically attend the session. You can have like a webinar that we have facing right now. People are so accustomed to webinars since the pandemic COVID-19, and then they don't have issues attending a session like this for an hour and a half or 2 hours. That's for the pilot projects. And then another promotion activity that you can do is you can do a newsletter, e-newsletter. If you don't have the resources to do a printed hard copy of e-newsletter, you can have like a monthly e-newsletter. You can email to all the employees within the organizations. For this, it doesn't have to be like a 16 or 22 pages of newsletter. It can have to be, sometimes it can be just a one-page e-newsletter will suffice for you to promote the kind of activities that you are having in the near future. Like for example, in JKR, we just released our latest e-learning module. There is something on the do's and don'ts of mechanical works. That was published last month by Intan at Bukit Kiara. So we did a promotional flyer that we distribute to all the employees within the JKR using our email. And then the third promotion activities would be that whenever you are having certain activities within the department, for example, you have certain seminar, and then you have certain conference and whatnot, you can use that platform to promote, for example, your KM project like COP that we're having in JKR. That, for example, if that your organization is having a project management seminar, for example, perhaps we can open a booth to advertise, to promote the usage of like virtual COP, or if you have a physical COP. So you can use that platform to advertise so that it can help to promote your KM activities within the organizations. And then Azlina, if you have anything to add to that.
I just want to add 2 points. One is branding. So I believe having a good brand and a catchy brand that could also help in promoting the KM in the organization. And the second one is the promotion needs to be continuous. You need to have a series of regular interaction with them, no matter through newsletter or through roadshow or whatsoever, but it must be something that regularly coming so that they know that, oh, this is so something that you keep on regular basis. It will actually when you gone missing, people will start looking, hey, mana KM ni? Something like that. So try to create that vibe. And I think with that, you will be able to actually help promote KM as well as enhance the understanding of KM. Okay, that's it from me.
Agree.
All right. Thank you. So we can move to the next questions. This came from Muhammad Lutfi. He has 2 questions to the panelists. One is, what strategies have you found most effective for overcoming resistance from stakeholders when introducing new KM initiative? And the second question will be, how do you handle situations where certain departments or team resist sharing knowledge due to competitive dynamics or fear of losing control? So I open to both panelists. Maybe can start with Madam Azlina this time.
Okay, I'll take the first one. All right, so I think I did touch a bit on this during my response to the answers just now. So when it comes to resistance, especially when you introduce new KM initiative or even new strategy whatsoever, the first thing is you must ensure that whatever initiative, whatever strategy that you're introducing, that is actually aligned with your organizational goal. Because as I mentioned just now, you need to have a problem, then you provide the solution. So if you provide something that is not addressing the problem, definitely you will have resistance. But if you are able to provide something that actually having the issues that that person is actually facing, definitely the thing will just be accepted. So that is the first thing that you need to do. So understand. So the role of a KM agent or KM manager or KM professionals is to always listen to the problem, to the issue, understand them. And then we try to actually propose or suggest or recommend what are the solutions that they can actually take. And then the second one, once you already agreed, so you get them on board to agree. So involve the stakeholders early in the process. So if that solution involve creating a new system, for example, so get the people who will actually be using the system to involve in the system implementation, starting from requirement gathering, designing. So involve them at every stage, because when they feel involved in the solution that you're actually providing, then they will be more easy to have buy-in from them. And the third one is, usually when we, especially this is actually, I did this mistake before, when we communicate a KM initiative, a new KM initiative, sometimes we fail to communicate to the user or to the stakeholder what is the benefits for them. So usually it sometimes transpired as this is actually meeting my KPI, whereas we need to show them actually the KM initiative that we are doing is actually to help you solve your problem and help you to do your work better. So we need to communicate the benefits of the KM initiative clearly to the stakeholders that actually impacted from there. And apart from them, as I said, continuous training, awareness, and also support, that's also important if you have new initiatives. And also start to show the quick wins. How you want to show quick wins? You need to address the low-hanging fruits first. Address the easy issue that you can show the benefits of having KM and show the early success of it. So I think those are some of the ways or strategies that you can do to overcome resistance from your stakeholder. Dr. Khairil, anything you want to add?
Yes, I would like to quote what you said just now, Madam Azlina, when it comes to having the ability to listen and to understand the pinpoints of certain, I would say certain unit or certain branch when it comes to the reason why they are not leveraging on the KM platforms. They are resist to use the KM. They are be part of the KM activities. My advice would be, as mentioned earlier by Madam Azlina, sometimes they are not fully aware of the KM benefits, what KM brings to the table. Perhaps during the roadshow, and then we give talk to the employees of or the staff organization is in a large crowd, right? If you were to have like a very intimate session, a focus, a small a group presentation, just to that particular department who are resist to change or resist to use the KM platform or to be part of the KM movement within your organizations. If you can listen and understand their pinpoints, the reason why they are resisting to use the KM platform, the KM activity, the tools they are being utilized or being implemented within the department, you have a better idea. Because at the end of the day, it is a win-win situation. No department within an organization can works in silo. They cannot like be on their own, because at the end of the day, they still have to collaborate with other departments, other units, whatnot. So by having KM, it would definitely help their works. It is a win-win situation at the end of the day. Number one, it helps to enhance the decision-making process. Number two, it helps to collaborate, how do you say, the activity when it comes to the tacit knowledge transfer, right? These kind of activities would eventually help the department which in the first place initially refused to be part of the KF movement with the organizations. But when you can explain to them, these are the KM benefits that we offer if you are part of the movement. Perhaps not all are entirely relevant to you, but some of them will be part. You can utilize the KM platforms in order for you to work effectively. I think more than willing people are readily to be part of the KM initiative if they know the benefits of the KM initiative in and out. And another thing I would highlight to emphasize is most of the time, if you can address the head of the department, head of the unit, on to be on board of the KM initiative, it will be much more beneficial, because most of the time when we have the leaders part of the KM or any initiative implemented within the organizations, the staff, whether they, kalau in Malay we call it paksa rela. What's in English? So paksa rela, sometimes we have to force them. So at certain time they become paksa rela.
Involuntarily.
Involuntarily kan. Tapi at the end of the day, when they began to realize what KM brings to the table, what they can benefit from KM, they would volunteer to be part of the activities. I hope that answers your question, sir.
All right, thank you to both panelists. Before we move to the next questions, perhaps any participants would like to communicate directly with the panelists. You are welcome now. Mr. Richard, you wish to ask any questions to our panelists? Do you?
I just think it's very wonderful to see you all. I came to Malaysia 2 years ago and I was struggling to find any KM people, and I'm just really impressed with the people I find. Honestly, the speakers are wonderful. Kudos and respect to you. I'm resonating with a lot of things. I don't know if you can see me nodding. I'm like, oh, you've been through the same battles as me, coming from oil and gas and energy industry. So much kudos and respect to you. I'm pleasantly pleased, surprised, and happy to hear what you're saying. And it's probably, you can see that on my face. So well done. You know, I hope we have a knowledge cafe and we can all meet for coffee, because I'm really happy to see you guys.
Great, thank you.
All right. We wish one day we will have the knowledge cafe with you, Mr. Richards. Huh? Okay. We move to the next questions by Hannah. What is your view on COP? Is it an effective KM tool on how to effectively implement it in organizations? Okay. Maybe
I believe this
yeah.
this is straight question to Dr. Khairil.
Yeah.
The experts in COP.
Oh.
Funny thing is, I think Madam Azlina, when you attend the session with Petronas, was it last month?
I think this one. This month.
Oh, earlier this month, right?
Yeah.
Okay, in JKL we have 9 domains of COP. In Petronas they have 76.
Yes.
I think Petronas will be the right organization to answer the question. But I'll share our own experience when it comes to JKL implementing COP. If you have the right culture, COP will be definitely the potent KM platform to share definitely on the tacit knowledge. Because when it comes to having a COP, within the structure of COP, you will have the core team. The core team will have team leader, and then we have the experts and whatnot. And then we have the manager, or how say the executive team who is going to conduct the activities. I'm talking about physical COPs, right? When it comes to interacting within the COP, the core team member will initiate the discussions. Say, for example, you call for project management, COP, and then they will talk something on perhaps issues they are facing with certain projects, case study, for example, right? The core team member would send invitations and ask the staff, employees of the department, for example, in this is JKR, member free, please come. So we're going to have wonderful sessions. Coffee and tea are provided. So you don't have to be worried, because if you come, you don't have to speak even. You can just sit there, take notes, and then you don't have to even ask questions. You can just go back to your office and then continue with your works. So that is the beauty of COP. We have the SME, the core team members, curating the activity. They would invite subject matter experts or leaders in the domain, project management in our case, to give perhaps a short talk. Sometimes aided by presentation, sometimes it's just a vocal presentation. Perhaps half an hour, talk about case study on particular projects. And then people were asked to give their own insights based on their personal experience, engaging a similar type of projects. People will ask questions for those who are having problems and whatnot. But majority of those who attended the COP sessions, perhaps they are just there to hear what the experts are presenting and to take note of the issues faced by some of their colleagues when it comes to be part of that similar projects. They would jot down all the points, and then when they go back, when they are faced with same problem, they know whom to ask, whom to refer to, because they have attended the COP sessions, and then they know what more or less some idea on how to address the issues they are facing with their own particular project. So it helps COP. So in JKRs, we have 9 domains, but you have to have certain strategy when it comes to having COP, right? So it's a potent platform when it comes to sharing tacit knowledge, but you have to be mindful to make sure that COP, it will live throughout its domain life. It depends on the number of leaders that are part of the COP, because leaders come and goes, some retire, some move on to the next phase of their life. They're not part of the COP anymore. So you have to devise a strategy to make sure that the COP is sustained. But more often than not, they come to a certain time when they feel like COP, perhaps during the initial stage, during the development stage, the implementation stage, it gives significant value to the individual, to the team, and to organizations. But they would come to a certain point of time in the domain life of the COP where the number of participants would reduce drastically, and then people are not interested to be part of COP because they have discussed everything and everything is being shared on the repository or the virtual COP. So don't worry about your COP after quite some times. It is not as vibrant or as cheerful as during the initial stage. So we can come up with another COP and whatnot. So I hope that answer your questions. But Azlina, if you want to add anything on the COP, does SC have COP?
No, we don't have. So that's why I said, when it comes to COP, I personally feel that it is actually most valuable if you have an organization that has distributed offices. So you have your distributed across the region or across the geographical areas. So in our case, everybody is actually within and under the same roof. And our expertise are actually grouped by the department. So that department is already the COP. But we do have a kind of COP that we call it, which is actually across jurisdiction. So because SC is the Securities Commission of Malaysia that regulating the capital market. So we have a community of practice COP between jurisdiction, for example, between Malaysia and Hong Kong, Malaysia and Singapore. So whoever that's actually, for example, working on regulatory function. So they have a kind of COP that actually talk to each other. Sometimes they compare, sometimes they discuss on issues related to the same interest. So that is the kind of COP that exists in our domain, but internally within my department, my organization, we don't have COP.
Madam Azlina, if you may add, you highlight a very important point here. When you have like distributed employees throughout all of our locations, there's a COP plays an important role. Take Petronas, for example, right?
Yeah.
So they have like staff all over the world. So no wonder they have 76 COP.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I agree with you with your point about don't worry if your COP is not vibrant. Sometimes you just close that COP, but retain all the content or all the sharing that you have there. And perhaps you want to create new COP because over time, new issues arises, and new fields or new expertise that you need to be discussed on. So your COPs can actually grow and your COP can just close. So, but retain, because those knowledge that is the most valuable that you want to be able to refer at any point of time.
True.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for that COP explanations. We're going to have the final 2 questions before we end our forum today. So the rest questions will be, the panelists will try to answer it by email to the respondents, inshallah. the question would be, how do you use measurement results to continuously improve your KM strategies? This one came from Mr. Hashimah. Open to any panelists on the measurement results. Who will take it? Dr. Khairil or Madam?
Can you repeat the question? Measurement results?
How do you use measurement results to continuously...
Management or measurement? Measurement, right?
Measurement. Yeah,
Measurement.
maybe I can start first. I
please,
just give
Manaf.
from my point of view
You understand the
on this
question
thing. Okay, so thank you, Madam Hashimah, for the question. So I think we did talk quite a few points about this measurement when it comes to measuring the impact of KM, because that is actually one of the key on sustaining KM initiatives within the organization. Because if you don't measure the impact, if you don't do your measurement, then you cannot actually prove that your KM initiative is something that is beneficial to the organization. So when you ask about how you use measurement result, I think before we go to the measurement result, first thing first, we need to clearly identify what are we measuring, because whatever that we're measuring will actually let me put it this way. You measure something that is aligned to your objective, because your objective is something that is aligned to your business pain point. So if you go backwards, so you actually starts with the issues, the pain point. Then from that pain points, you understand and you devise what is it that I want to address, and that will become your objective. And usually that is actually the measurable objectives. And when you have the measurable objective, then you are able to actually come up with your measurement metrics. And that matrix, the result of that measurement matrix will actually answer back whether have you actually achieved the desired outcome that address the objective that you have. Okay, so now when you have your result, definitely you need to analyze it. Okay, and when you analyze, as I said, the analysis should be guided by the objective that you have defined upfront. So that's why I said before you can get to your measurement metrics, you need to know first what is your objective. So for example, if your objective is to increase the number of users accessing certain portal, for example, or certain repository, so your measurement could be the number of visits for the day, the number of downloads, the number of views, and so on. So when you are able to analyze and see the trends, okay, usually when we do, it's either you go by day or you go by month, and you see why this month you have more views, why this month you have less views, and so on. So that is by view for the repository. And you can also do measurement by the content that you put inside there, because if you're able to measure the content view, for example, then with that result, you are able to actually, the result can give you some insights into whether the content that you're pushing to your user is something that they wanted or is the you shot sendiri. So that can give you some feedback into whether are you pushing the relevant content to your user, or actually your user require different content than the one that you are providing them. And perhaps the means that you are providing them is not the right way. There are different ways that you can actually provide them. This is how your measurement result can actually feed back into the KM strategies when you do your continuous review of it. So I just stopped from there at that point. So Dr. Khairil, if you want to add some more of that.
If I can just add on, example of JKR when it comes to using measurement results to showcase what KM offers to the organizations. in JKR, in our strategic plan, we have identified we have included three elements when it comes to CAM-centric measurement. Number one is the number of e-learning module developed. Number two is the number of activities, knowledge sharing activities, initiated by officers. And number three, the number of activities when it comes to using KM platforms. So when we have the results in terms of output, as mentioned just now by Madam Azlina, the number of views, the number of downloads, the number of modules being developed, and whatnot, right? So those are the output. But the outcome that is more important that we need to highlight to the management is the competencies. So all this from the metrics translate into KPI so that we can measure the success of KM activities. But at the end of the day, what does all these metrics offers to the department? We want to ensure that, we want to showcase to the department that whenever people actively participate in KM sharing activities, when we develop new models of e-learnings, so it contributes to the growth and development of the competency of the employees. As we all know, competency is involved about knowledge, it's about skills, about experience. Skills and experience are those that is, how do I say, achievable throughout the times, and then you have to learn. But knowledge, so these are the element of knowledge can be, how do I say, contributed by the activities that is being devised by the KM unit throughout the KM efforts, platform, knowledge sharing activities, online modules, and whatnot. So yes, it is very important. When you have the measurement results, and then you escalate that to the top management, and it helps you to devise your KM strategy for the future, so that the KM benefits will be embedded within the organizations. Hope that answer the question. Thank you.
All right, so a very final question, and this question actually came from me. All right, I actually has a curiosity, and perhaps the panelists have any ideas to my questions, which is what is your opinion, or what is your view if, let's say, the KM is already initiated, but then sometimes the top leadership or the top management might not, is uncertain on the way forward. Okay, so how do we cater this? How do we overcome this kind of situations? Perhaps Dr. Khairil can answer my curiosity.
That question is interesting because the thing is, since JKR initiated KM initiative in 2008, we have gone through several transition of leadership. If not mistaken, has been until now, from 2028 until now, there have been, I think, 6 or 7 new Director General of the department. And so far, Alhamdulillah, we do not face such issues. When the new leaders or new management team comes in, they give full support when it comes to doing KM because they are aware of the KM initiative. They can see what the KM benefits offering to the organizations. And then what usually we do is every single time there is a new leader coming to the organizations, whether being promoted and whatnot, right? Would have a special sessions with either the Director General or the Deputy Director General or the Senior Director to explain to them what KM is all about. Because as you mentioned just now, maybe there are certain new leaders who are uncertain on how to move, on how KM can bring value to the department, on how to move forward in the next step of KM. So we found that when we have this, I would say, a focus session with the leaders, the senior management, it helped them to understand better what KM brings to the organizations. Perhaps because before this, they are not actively involved and they are not keen enough. But then when they are fully aware of what KM brings to the table, they'll be more than willing to support the KM initiative. But just in case, if in the occurrence that when we have done that sessions, when we will have supplied them with the measurement result as mentioned earlier, the management still are reluctant to move forward to KM. That is interesting because I've never faced such situations. But my advice would be, I found this to works more often than not, is to bring people outside from your organization. In this particular situation, perhaps from organization who have conducted KM, successfully conducted KM. Again, I have to refer back to Petronas because that is among the pioneer organization in Malaysia that have conducted KM, and to do like a showcase of what KM bring to Petronas. And perhaps it would open the mind of the new managers or new leaders. If Petronas is committed of using KM, if Bank Negara is committed of having KM sustain the use of KM until now, so there must be something about KM that bring value to organization, and perhaps they would open your mind, and then they will be more than freely to accept KM and move forward with it. Madam Azlina, do you have anything to add?
I have some additional point. I think this is just my point of view on this thing, because yes, usually when you have new, especially when you have change leadership, change management, it's not change management, but change in management, especially top management. Yes, this SC also has gone through change of leadership for quite a number since the last few years. Another perspective, if I can offer, apart from the proactive part from the KM team itself, is because you mentioned that the KM has been initiated, so means there have been some benefits that the organization, the departments has benefit from using KM. So bringing these people, your strong supporters who actually embrace KM, because when you enroll KM in any organization, you will have 3 groups. The first one is the one that really supports you. Anything that you say, yes, we follow. The other one, that is a strong opposing group, that whatever that you say, no, we don't want to follow. And usually this one is more than the other one. And the third one is atas pagar. So in the middle, I follow with whichever that I think can benefit me. But if you have this kind of situation, I would strongly suggest that you get the team from the strong supporter of you. Let them speak to the management. Let them explain what KM has brought to them, has benefited them. Because usually when you are able to bring the people who are mostly affected by your initiative, that will give a different perspective to your leaders, definitely. So that's my point of view. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Khairil and Madam Azlina once again. Thank you to participants for your questions. However, due to time constraint, we may not be able to address all inquiries during this session. So please feel free to email the 2 panelists for further discussion. Our panelists' emails are being provided in the chat spots. Yeah. All right. So before we conclude, we would like to take a group photo to capture this moment. So I wish everybody can please turn on your cameras for the photo. All right. So are we ready? Let me check with the secretariats. Are we ready? All right. So page 1, ready, smile, give your best smile on the Friday. Okay. On 3, 2, 1, done. Page 2. 3, 2, 1. Page 3, 3, 2, 1. How many page do we have altogether? Okay, then we go to the page 4. And the last page, 5. Smile. All right. Okay, so we have now reached the conclusion for our sessions. On behalf of the Al-Hikmah Library, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed panelists for their engaging and insightful contributions. We hope that their insights will benefit all participants. We also want to thank everyone for your time and active participations in today's forum. We apologize for any shortcomings or inconveniences that may have arisen. We look forward to see you at our future KM programs, and we wish you all a wonderful day ahead. Okay, a gentle reminder, please remember to fill up the evaluation form and kindly provide details for the e-certificates using the link provided in the chat box. All right. Let's end our forum with the recitation of Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-As. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And I wish to have our panelists, Dr. Khairil and Madam Azlinayati, to stay for one moment. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
having us.
thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much, Madam.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Terima kasih.
Salam.
Semoga hari anda hawa.
Assalamualaikum.
Sama-sama.
Take care, everyone.